Hey, it's Naomi from the Wenatchee River Institute. We really miss visiting you at your school and hosting you on our campus in Leavenworth. So we thought we'd reach out and connect with you through this video. Today, we're going to explore why animals behave the way they do. Have you ever wondered why a bird sings songs? Why a monarch butterfly migrates? Or why a bear goes into hibernation? Let's find out. Animals are either born with or learn certain behaviors that help them survive. These are known as behavioral adaptations, actions that help an animal survive.
Let's take just a moment to talk about bird behavior. Birds have lots of interesting behavior that have helped them survive. They are, after all, what's left of the dinosaurs. We'll talk about bird calls and bird songs. Bird calls are short, individual notes that birds use to communicate everyday bird stuff, like where members of their group are or where food is located. Bird songs, however, are longer, they're varied, they're musical, and they're often very complex. In our part of the world, it's generally the male birds that we hear sing songs. They do this to establish territory and also to attract a mate. Kind of like humans, just to show off.
Learning bird songs is a great way to identify birds. Some songs almost sound like words. Mnemonics can help us learn and identify bird songs. In the case of bird songs, mnemonics are often phrases or words that help you string together the syllables and notes of a bird song so that you may remember its rhythm, pitch, and tempo. Listen to these bird songs with us and create your own mnemonic. Let's start with a robin. The mnemonic for the robin is cheerio, cheery me, cheerio, cheery me. Next, a quail. It almost sounds like the quail is saying, Chicago, Chicago. Here's a chickadee's song. The chickadee's song is easy to remember. Chickadee-dee-dee, chickadee-dee-dee. Now it's your turn. Can you come up with a mnemonic for a barred owl? Did the barred owl's song remind you of a word or a phrase? If so, write it down in your nature journal.
Hi everyone, I want to share my Mexico adventure with you and my observations of animal behavior. Monarch butterflies are insects that begin as an egg and grow into an adult with wings and 3 pairs of legs. The most amazing behavior of the monarch butterflies is their migration from north areas in the United States to south areas such as southern parts of California and central Mexico. These monarch butterflies arrive in Mexico around Halloween or Day of the Dead. The butterflies we see in the United States in the summer are the same ones you see here in this video. The butterflies in this video are the great-grandchildren of the butterflies that hibernated here last year. This generation, the super generation, arrive in these forests and know where to go, but they have never been there. So why do monarch butterflies migrate over 2,000 miles south to Mexico? It is because monarch butterflies cannot survive the freezing weather of our northern winters.
Your job as a scientist is to make observations of the wildlife around you in your journal. You might discover a new movement, a new migration that has not been discovered yet.
Hello, it's Katie from the Wenatchee River Institute. And as you can see, it is a beautiful spring day outside. The birds are chirping. It's getting warmer outside. It also means that a lot of animals are waking up from their hibernation. But what is hibernation anyway? Well, my friend Ranger Julia over at the Leavenworth National Fish Hatchery is going to explain it to us.
Hi, my name is Julia Pinnix. I work for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service at Leavenworth National Fish Hatchery. Today we're going to talk about hibernation. We're going to look at a couple of different animals that hibernate. What does hibernation mean? It means that the ways animals adapt to survive cold weather and a lack of food. And there's a couple of ways we can measure that. We can look at how fast their heart beats. If you take your wrist and grab your hand, squeeze tight, can you feel your heartbeat in your hand? That's your heart rate or your pulse rate. You can count how many beats per minute to get that rate. Now put your hand on your chest. Take a deep breath and let it out. That's one breath. And your breathing rate or respiration rate is how many times you breathe in 1 minute. If you're a bear, for example, your pulse rate may be 1 heartbeat every 6 seconds. Let's see how long that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 heartbeat in 6 seconds. If you're a bear in hibernation, you may only breathe 2 times in 1 minute. That's not very often, is it? So we're going to look at 2 different animals and how they hibernate, because hibernation is really different depending on what kind of animal you are. One animal we'll look at is the chipmunk. It looks a little like a squirrel, but it's small and it has stripes on its back. And this is the skull of a black bear. Black bears and chipmunks both hibernate for the winter. Now, chipmunks dig a deep burrow. They go down into the ground, pretty far down, and they dig a nice little burrow and they block up the entrance when they go in to hibernate. So it stays warm. Well, warm-ish. If we look at how warm they may be somewhere right about here. About 35 degrees Fahrenheit in their burrow. That's almost exactly the same temperature as your refrigerator. So go open up your refrigerator and put your hand in there and you'll know what it feels like inside a chipmunk's burrow. Now inside a bear's den, a den for a bear is out on the surface. They don't dig a real deep hole. And so it's very close to the same temperature as it is outside. So if it is 40 degrees outside, it's pretty close to 40 degrees in the den, just a little bit warmer. If it's minus 20 in their den, it might just be maybe minus 15. So it's going to be much colder in that den if you're a bear than if you're a chipmunk. Now, chipmunks don't stay asleep all winter long. A lot of people think hibernation is you go to sleep in the fall and you wake up in the spring. That's not how it works for a lot of animals. Chipmunks have to wake up every few days and get a meal. So they have to warm themselves up from 40 degrees all the way up to 94 so that they can get up and do that. And they have little stashes of food all over the place. They go out and they find where they hid their food and eat it, and then they go back to sleep and cool back down again. Bears don't eat at all during the winter time. They actually stay in a form of hibernation, but they will wake up every few days, or they'll wake up if they're disturbed. But their food comes from their own fat. This is a jar of bear fat here. They have lovely warm fur that keeps them very warm, but their fat keeps them twice as warm as their fur. So it keeps them warm and it gives them food all winter long. Now, if you're a mama bear, you might not hibernate very much. You wake up when your babies are born and then you mostly stay awake. But most bears will doze their way through the winter. They'll sleep, they'll wake up, they'll turn around every few days, but they don't eat, unlike a chipmunk. So those are 2 different animals, 2 different ways that they can hibernate. Bye.
Now that you have a better idea of why some animals act the way they do, it's your turn to head outside and observe some animal behaviors in action.